Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Coach Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation is Maj Mahalla Panjwa. Ji Pran Prabh Manah Adhara, Bhagat Jivo Gun Gaye Apara, Gun Nidhan Amrit Har Nama, Har Tyai Tyai Sukh Paya Jiyo. मनसा धार जो करते आवे, साध संग जन्म मरण मिटावे, आस मनोरथ पूर्ण होवे, भेटत गुर दरसाए जियो। अगम अगोचर किछ मित नहीं जानी, साधक सिद्ध त्यावे ज्ञानी, खुदी मिटी चूका बुलावा, गुर मन ही में प्रगटाया जियो। आनंद मंगल कल्याण निधाना, सुख सहज हर नाम बखाना, होए कृपाल स्वामी अपना नाओ, नानक घर में आया जियो. So we will take this from the top, section by section. जी प्राण प्रभ मने आधारा, भक्त जीवो गुण गाय अपारा, गुण निधान अमृत हर नामा, Har Tyai Tyai Sukh Paya Jiyo. So this is the measure of Rag Maj and composed by the fifth Nanak, Guru Arjan. And in the first section, he says that the Prabh self, Prabh meaning wisdom, is the foundation, Adhar. It's the foundation of sentient life, Ji. It is also the sustainer of breath, Pran, and it is also the mind's support, Manah Adhara. So devotion to that limitless one, Apara, is the mark of a true devotee. In other words, our devotion has to be fixed on not on what is visible to the sense perceptions, but the limitless one behind. Receive the treasures of excellences, he says, by drinking or imbibing the elixir, the amrit of self-knowledge, Haranama. And with constant attention, gradually, Tyai Tyai, blissful harmony is achieved with the herself. So essentially what is being said here is that what is visible is actually rooted in the invisible. What is limited is embedded in the limitless. The one that is hidden and the infinite is actually the source and therefore the most valuable. And so true devotion is always directed beyond the ever-changing and decaying physical world to that source, that authentic treasure house. And to do that, one has to learn to bring one's focus to the self, the essence within, and that is the challenge. And that is what is being addressed here in the second section. Mansa tar jo karte aave, साध संग जन्म मरण मिटावे, आस मनोरथ पूर्ण होवे, भेटत गुर दरसाया जियो. So I'll read the translation first. With determination, mansatar, put aside worldly distraction and turn your focus inward, karte aave. We will talk about kar and janam maran as well. Join the congregation of perfected ones, sadh sang, and then follow the example of the Guru Enlightener, Guru Darsaya. What the Guru shows, teaches, imbibe that. In such a way is the cycle of perpetual birthing and dying erased. Janama maran mitave. And the objective is achieved. Asa manoratha puran hove. So here we have to spend a little bit of time on trying to understand Janam Maran because it is very persistent in Gurbani, and there are different views on what Janam Maran might mean. And commonly it has come to be associated with reincarnation, or the cycle of life and death, namely the disappearance of vitality, which is associated with our physical, psychological life process, if you will. But what we would like to suggest is that there might be a more nuanced way of looking at this also, and we present it for your consideration. Now, strictly speaking, beings, that is us, actually have only a very brief moment, as short as a breath, to live, because life lasts as long as a single moment of breath lasts. Between breaths, we experience repeated dissolution and vanishing. The cycle of breath is a cycle of constant birthing and dying, and Guru Nanak in Rag Tanasri also reminds us of this. He says, Ham admi ha ikdami, mohalat mahat na jana, to imply that life lasts only as long as a single moment of breath. At any given time, life rests on that single point of consciousness, because the next breath is unpredictable and new. Sahib mera neeta nama. So consider an example here, that of a cartwheel. A wheel, whether it is rolling or stationary, is always resting on a single point of its periphery. Similarly, the life of a living being lasts only for the duration of a single moment of consciousness. That is the breath. That is the periphery. As soon as that moment ceases, the being also ends. Each moment of coming and going of the breath could then be understood as the life process moving from life to life, breath to breath. That is another way of seeing Janam Maran. In other words, we are in and out of life every moment with our breath. And actually, physicists would have us believe today that the universe is actually blipping in and out of existence, and doing it so fast that it's not visible to us. Likewise, our pace may be associated with the pace of our breaths. No matter how you view this, the essential message here is to break through the temporality of daily existence. In other words, to reorient our minds to the timeless and imperceptible that lies behind sense objects. That is where our devotion, our focus has to go to. And then in the third section, the question is, how does one do that again? Because we know not, nahi jani, how to take the measure, the myth of the inaccessible source, agam, the incomprehensible, agochar self. Agam agochar kich mit nahi jani. And many are trying to do this. And the Guru lists out sadhaka, siddhya, gyani, seekers, accomplished people, scholars of scripture are trying to do this. But then he tells us how it really works. Khudi miti chuka polava, gure man hi mahe pragataya jiyo. So it is really within the mind, and it comes through erasing the ego. Khudi miti. That's how our straying ends. Chuka polava. And the Guru then says, this is how the Gur Enlightener, through the Gur Enlightener, the ego is erased and the self is made manifest within the mind. Gur mein hi, Gur man hi mein pragataya jiyo. Pragataya, to make manifest. So now, Guru Arjan Ji is addressing how one understands what is essentially beyond everyday perception. Clearly, this is not, using the senses or cognitive or logical reasoning. There has to be another faculty at work here. And so recall the reminder in section 2. Be determined, seek the right company and the guidance of the Gur Enlightener. Now, the Gur Enlightener is also called Gur or Satgur, among many other adjectives that are used, is the channel through which self-knowledge, which is called Harnam, is transmitted. Historically, the Sikh gurus were the embodiments of the Satgur. In our times, it is the text of the Guru Granth Sahib that is both the subject of Harnam and the Satgur. And ultimately, the principle of Satgur is actually present in each one of us. The real trick is to learn how to activate it. And that is what Gurbani does for us. Anand Mangal Kalyan Nidhana Sukh Sahaj Hare Naam Vakhana Hoye Kripal Swami Apna Now Nanak Kar Mein Aya Jiyo. This is the outcome. Bliss, Anand, joy, Mangal, well-being, Kalyan, and the treasure of virtues, Nidhana, and comfort, Sukh, arise within the mind with spontaneous ease, Sahaj, when the discourse of self-knowledge is heard, Vakhana, is heard or assimilated. Then, says Nanak, the master of all, Swami Apana, in its compassionate benevolence, comes to abide within the heart. Karme Aya Jiyo. So as mentioned, Gurbani is the context and the guide that leads us to connect with the Satgur within, deep in the recesses of our being, the heart or the kar. And we have to remember that the heart is not the physical organ, but rather in spiritual symbolism, it represents the inner core, the locus of the body, mind, spirit. It's the central wisdom of feeling instead of the head, which represents the wisdom of reason. But the two have to be integrated. That's what Gurbani does. So some takeaway. One, it becomes our primary responsibility to experience the text of Guru Granth. Experience, not just read. If one is lucky enough to be able to read the original text, so much the better. If not, experience it through Sangat. There are other means of experiencing it. But experience you must. And engagement with the Guru Granth Sahib extends mere, as I said, rote reading. It is a lifelong, dynamic interaction. It is an apprenticeship. And it is not transference of knowledge in the usual sense. Because you're not making new knowledge. You're awakening knowledge that is already within you. That's the difference. And when you engage with the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, over time you will gradually figure out the difference. And lastly, unfortunately, interaction with Guru Granth Sahib calls for slowing down, patience. So the advice is slow down, smell the roses. We live in an age where speed is of the essence and we are all running around like rats on a treadmill. So reflect on that. With those thoughts, until the next time, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.